Hey girl, let's talk crime. So we will be discussing the murder of 13-year-old Milana Lee out of Beaverton, Oregon. So Milana was a 13-year-old. She was a sixth grader at Conestoga Middle School, and according to her classmates, she was a bright light. She was a sister who loved her siblings so much. She always wanted to make you laugh, and she was someone that you could definitely trust. In May 2022, she was trying to make friends with an older crowd. And during this time, she ends up running into a 16-year-old by the name of Daniel Gore. Now, at the time that they did meet, Daniel was living in a tent in the Progress Ridge area. Now, he had been living here for a few months after he had run away from home. During the time that Daniel and Milana had met, he was on probation for criminal mischief, for arson, as well as theft. On Sunday, May 8th, 2022, 13-year-old Milana Lee and 16-year-old Daniel Gore had decided that they were going to ride the city bus for a few hours. There was no specific destination, but they were just riding around. This was right before he decided that he was going to lure her into the woods where he had been staying in a tent. Once he had lured her to a secluded area, he did grape Milana, and then he strangled her, ending her life. After he had finished, he had taken her now naked body and tried to conceal it in a shallow creek. He had put her body under his waterproof tarp and then also put a few logs on top. Daniel had then gone to a friend's house and he was trying to build his alibi. Started texting people, telling people that he and Milana had split ways at a bus stop hours ago, although there was footage that showed the two walking into where the wooded area where his tent is. The last time 13-year-old Milana Lee was seen alive was around 7:45 p.m. on May 8th. The following day, which was that Monday morning, Milana's mother had gotten off of her third shift job and realized that her daughter was not home, and that is when she had called the Beaverton Police Department and a search began for Milana. On May 10th, which was a Tuesday, the Beaverton Police Department had tracked Daniel Gore to the Murray Hill Library. Once he noticed them, he had fled out of an emergency exit, but he was taken into custody about 20 minutes later. The lead detective on this case, a woman named Cynthia, stated that there were searches of violent sexual photos on his phone, as well as they found a journal in his tent that stated that he felt like Dexter, referencing the fictional serial killer. So Daniel had left his clothing from that evening at a friend's house. Those were tested, and there was not any traces of Milana's DNA on them. However, she did have unidentified male DNA on her clothes as well as under her fingernails, which there was one fingernail that had been ripped off at the nail bed, which investigators were saying this was due to her fighting for her life. Daniel's DNA was found inside of Milana. However, he states that this was consensual. Now, prosecutors are saying that the unidentified male DNA underneath her fingernails could have easily been transferred from her brother or father, and that Milana was more than likely facing down when he had strangled her, which would explain why his DNA was not under her fingernails. Oregon law states that any juvenile must be released by their 25th birthday, regardless of the charge. And so there was a hard fight to get him charged as an adult, and they were successful. On November 22nd, 2024, Daniel Gore, who is now 19 years old, was convicted of raping and sexually assaulting as well as murdering 13-year-old Milana Lee. Daniel faces a mandatory life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years, and he will be sentenced on December 2nd, 2024.